Titans head coach Brian Callahan is not going to fire special teams coach Colt Anderson. And that's incredibly frustrating to hear. That and more on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL, all lowercase, to win $50 instantly when you play $5. On today's show, I'm going to give you an injury update on Will Levis and others. I'm going to look on the bright side from the Titans' beatdown against the Detroit Lions. But first, we're going to start with Brian Callahan's decision to not fire special teams coordinator Colt Anderson. Before I get into it, I do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. And if you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. On tomorrow's show, I'm going to look at the Tennessee Titans draft position, going to talk about some options in the draft, including the quarterbacks. And then on Thursday, we got crossover Thursday to get ready for this game against the Patriots. I'll have a game plan Friday for you guys. I think the Titans are winning this week. May sound crazy, but that's what I believe. With that being said, let's talk about this decision because Brian Callahan came out at his Monday press conference and said that he is not going to fire special teams coordinator Colt Anderson. He said that him and Colt Anderson sat down. They watched every single snap on tape of the special teams. They talked about solutions, what to do next, some of the issues that the team's having. And again, Callahan said he will not be moving on from Colt Anderson. And a lot of people saw that and responded jokingly, good, the Titans need to tank and this guy's going to help them do it. Well, I understand that point of view. I certainly do. But at the end of the day, I can't lie. This is frustrating. It's hard for me when last year we saw Craig Aukerman, and year after year we saw Craig Aukerman under Mike Vrabel be a terrible special teams coordinator. The Titans never made big impacts on that side of the ball, and often they made plays that hurt them. And to roast Mike Vrabel consistently, which I did, about his decision to keep Craig Aukerman around, and then turn around and see Brian Callahan stay loyal to Colt Anderson here. Honestly, that's the most frustrating part, is that I feel like Brian Callahan is making the same exact mistake that Mike Vrabel was making. He was being too loyal to the coordinators that he hired initially. It's doubling down on your own mistakes. So make no mistake about it. I think that Colt Anderson is not a special team, good enough to be a special teams coordinator in the NFL. I think that he should be, if not fired, he should be at least demoted and allow someone underneath him, like an Anthony Levine, allow someone else to have an opportunity to be the special teams coordinator for this team for the second half of the season. But what I like to do here is I like to rationalize things. Although I don't agree with the decision, I do not agree with the decision. I can understand why Brian Callahan is maybe making this call. So Brian Callahan said in his press conference that he believes that Colt Anderson has the experience to fix the problems. And he also mentioned some of the issues that are not coaching, which there's some truth to. One of the problems here is Ryan Stonehouse. So and if you're somebody who wishes that Mike Vrabel was back, you have to understand this. Mike Vrabel consistently said that Ryan Stonehouse needs to put more hang time on his punts. He hits it very far, but he doesn't have the ball up in the air long enough, and it makes it difficult for the coverage to get down there, and then the returner has a head start. That is still a problem with Ryan Stonehouse, And I would tell you that it's an even bigger problem this year because Stonehouse is clearly rushing his process due to the injury last year and some of the blocked kicks earlier in the year, which you could say is on the coaching staff. So when Brian Callahan says, Ryan Stonehouse needs to have more hang time on his punts, right now he's only averaging about 4 seconds in hang time. I know that some of you are going to say, no, it's all the coach's fault. I don't care about the players. It's the coach's fault. Fire the coaches, blah, 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 blah. Because some of you are just rage monsters and that's what you want to do. But there is a speck of truth to that. Ryan Stonehouse does need to be better and have more hang time on his punts. That's true. Also, there have been missed tackles. And some of these guys are getting down there and they're missing a tackle on the returner. And that is not necessarily on the special teams coordinator. What I would say, though, is that is still on the coaching and primarily on Ran Carthon. Because this football team, and I talked about this when roster cuts happen, a lot of you guys tag me on Twitter or you put in the comments on YouTube, Tyler, I remember when you said that the Titans were getting rid of a lot of their good special teams players. And we're seeing that have an impact. Hassan Haskins was a demon on special teams. Excellent special teams player. Titans cut him for Julius Chestnut, a move that I thought was a mistake. A guy like Matthew Jackson, a guy like Anthony Kendall in the secondary. These are guys who did very well on special teams last year for the Titans, who the Titans cut in order to have better players on offense and defense. Now, for me, I understand the approach of looking for better offensive and defensive players, but you cannot do it to the point where, like, the Titans have 2 tight ends in Thomas Odukoye and David Martin Robinson. DMR hasn't played one time all year, and Odukoye has only been elevated once. You needed both those guys in lieu of some guys who could play special teams better. You picked Julius Chestnut over Hassan Haskins. I never liked that decision. So I'm not excusing Colt Anderson. Colt Anderson should be fired. But some of these issues are on the players, missed tackles, and Ryan Stonehouse's hang time. And some of these issues are on the coach, Brian Callahan, and Ran Carthon, who decided to make the roster with a lack of special teams players. So Colt Anderson should be fired, but this problem is deeper than just the special teams coach is no good. So I just want you to keep that in mind as the season continues. I think if there's another blow-up day like this, that Colt Anderson will have to be fired. I did have someone say to me, and a lot of you guys make smart commentary, and I feel like you deserve to have the opinion shared on here. I do the show by myself, so a lot of the times it's just my opinion. That's why I like to bring some other opinions from some of you guys who I interact with onto the show, because it gives a diverse set of opinions rather than just mine all the time. And I think that's fair. I had someone say this sends a bad message to the locker room that you can have a coach who is clearly not good enough, who's hurting the team, and you refuse to get rid of him. I acknowledge that could be the case. But I also want to at least be honest and say the other side of it is, hey, if you have a few mistakes or you have a couple bad games, we're not going to lose faith in you and we're not going to cut you. That's about loyalty. And I think that goes a long way in a locker room as well. But we're going to look on the bright side of the 52-14 drubbing that the Lions put on the Titans right now. Before we do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, you can get ready to tackle some NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same exact page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel fanduel.com to join today. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And look, guys, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm betting that the Titans win this weekend against the Patriots. Make sure that you go to fanduel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. I told you about Brian Callahan not firing Colt Anderson. I think he should be fired personally, but we went over some reasons why Brian Callahan has decided not to do that. Now I want to be positive. All right, there's a lot of negativity out there. You can go to any podcast or any article or anything like that. And look, yesterday I was down bad. Yesterday I was sad. We all were. We were pissed off. You know, the Titans are the worst team in the NFL. They're blah, 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 this and that. You know, I got to be honest. You look at it, I don't think the Titans are the worst team in the NFL. I think that's the Carolina Panthers. And honestly, I think the Titans are better than some other 2-win teams. I think the Titans are better than the New England Patriots. I think they're going to beat them this weekend. I do. And the reason for my optimism is, you know, I watch the tape every week multiple times, and there are just certain things that stand out. There are certain things that I think we have to keep in mind here, despite the team being 1-6, okay? Number one, this offensive line has gotten better. I know that right tackle is still a major issue. It is, no doubt about it. Right tackle is a major issue. But you look, the Titans' offensive line didn't give up any sacks against the Detroit Lions. The one sack that the Titans gave up was credited to Nick Vannett. It was on Nick Vannett. This Titans' offensive line has improved. J.C. Latham has been relatively fantastic. Like, the Titans have a true left tackle for the next decade in J.C. Latham. The pick worked. The pick was good. Peter Skoronski, excellent in pass protection against the Detroit Lions. Excellent in pass protection. Gave up 1 pressure, 0 sacks. It wasn't his best day in the run game. It wasn't. And he got called for 2 holding penalties. One of them was absolutely bogus on the Tony Pollard screen, though. Ridiculous. Brian Callahan was going nuts on the sideline about that because that was a terrible call. But Peter Skoronski has been good. People who don't watch tape will tell you that he's been terrible and that he's a bust and blah, blah, blah. Don't listen to them. All right. Watch the tape for yourself. Trust me, whatever you want to do. Lloyd Cushenberry has had his ups and downs. I had somebody say that Lloyd Cushenberry's been a bottom 5 center. What are we talking about? No, he has not. Lloyd Cushenberry has been solid. Has he been exceptional? No. But no one on the offensive line has generally been exceptional. They've had their struggles. But it's really improved as of late. Dylan Radins is a starting guard in the NFL. And if the Titans don't sign him back, someone else is going to sign him and make him their starting guard. This offensive line has improved over the last 3 to 4 weeks. It's only been a couple of sacks. Mason Rudolph has had a lot of time. There were no sacks allowed in Miami. Pretty good performance against the Colts. Only 1 sack allowed yesterday against the Lions. Like, the reality is the special teams play and the couple of turnovers the Titans had made that game look way worse than it was. The Titans were competitive. I know that it's 52-14. You're going to be like, no, they weren't. How can you say that? But the Titans offense was moving up and down the field in the first half. Up and down the field. When the defense didn't have to stop the Lions when they started their drive in the red zone, they were able to get stops against the Lions. You look, Titans ran the ball well against the Lions. There were plenty of explosive plays in the pass game to Calvin Ridley and Josh Wiley. Like, there were explosive plays in the pass game and a good run game. The Titans offense did not look that bad. Mason Rudolph, while not being a starting level player, I continue and will continue to say He's a good backup. He's a competent backup. And I think he showed that in the game. He made his fair share of mistakes, and the special teams absolutely crushed the game. But Mason Rudolph was all right. He looked awesome in the first half. He's a competent backup. Also, and I got to give an apology to Jeffrey Simmons. Got in my emotions, was angry after the game, a couple of bad plays. Jeffrey Simmons had a sack, multiple pressures, a forced fumble. Like Arden Key, 2 sacks on the day, multiple pressures, a forced fumble. The Titans' defensive line had its best game maybe of the entire season. Well, the pass rush portion. Against the Lions' offensive line, which is the best in the NFL. So, good run game. Explosive plays in the pass game. Competent backup quarterback play. A vastly improved offensive line from early in the year that continues to improve and has a lot of young players and still has the worst right tackle in the NFL no matter who's playing there. The defensive line making plays, finally getting consistent pass rush against a great offensive line, the best offensive line in the NFL. Like, this is why my overall point, and shout out to my guy Stoney Keeley. We had a mutual bonding scenario online about this on Sunday night. I don't care if you call me crazy. I don't care what you got to say. I believe in the direction this team is going. I think some crazy things have happened this year. Rand Carthon said the ball hasn't bounced our way in an interview, and everyone's freaking out about it. But I understand the sentiment. Will Levis with the flick 6, the blocked punts at the beginning of the year, the underhanded toss to Tajay Spears in week 2. Yeah, they got drubbed by the Packers, and the Packers are an awesome team. Like, the special teams performance, some of the 4th down calls from a rookie head coach. Like, the Titans have not been as bad as their record says. They haven't. They have better players and a better system than what the record says. So the ball has literally and figuratively not bounced their way this year. They're not a good football team. I don't think that they would be, with a winning record or anything like that. I know it's hard to say it right now. I know it's hard for people to believe it, but this team is going the right direction, and they're going to figure it out. It may not be this year, but it's going to happen. They are on the right path, and I firmly believe that, and no one can tell me different. I watch the tape every week. I see what the reaction is. I see what the coaches are saying. I watch every press conference. This team is a few pieces away and some luck going their direction, and this can be a competitive football team. I believe that, and I'm never going to change my mind on it until a couple of years from now after I see it really not work. But from what I've seen so far, I guess my real summation is I still have faith. I still have faith. Today's episode is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made simple, made easy, and made fun. That's why they have over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy sports accessible to all because all you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to $100. times your cash. Run your season and your game on Prize Picks. So here's how it works. Again, you pick 2 to 6 players. Let's say Jamar Chase, 79.5 receiving yards. Patrick Mahomes, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 59.5 receiving yards. You get the drift here. All you do is pick more or less. And again, you can win up to 100 times your cash. Make sure that you download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about why I think Colt Anderson should be fired, but he's not going to be fired right now by Brian Callahan. I decided to look on the bright side of things. I know that may be hard to do right now with the team at 1-6, but I'm telling you, they're going the right direction. There are a lot of things to be excited about and a lot of things that have gotten better from last year's team. Now I want to hit some injury updates. Before I do, thanks again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. You get your Titans news here with me in under 30 minutes every single day. Get your NFL news with me. I am the lead host of Locked On NFL Monday through Friday, the madman, as they like to call me. So I would appreciate your guys' support if you subscribed over there and got all your NFL news with Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Injury news. Will Levis. Brian Callahan said that he is hopeful that Will Levis will play in week 9. And I'm ready for it. They haven't won any games with Mason Rudolph starting, whether it be Rudolph coming in on Saturday before the game or Rudolph having the whole week. Let's see Will Levis. You know, if they're going to lose these games by 1,000 points anyway, I want to see Will. I want to see Will. For all the good and all the bad, all the great and all the frustrating, which there hasn't been a lot of great. It's been a lot of frustrating. But I still want to see what Will Levis can do the rest of the year. And against the Patriots this week, it's the easiest game or the most winnable game that the Titans have played since the Miami game. They are a better team than the Patriots. They should beat the Patriots. The Patriots have a worse offensive line. They have worse wide receivers. They just lost Josh Uche at pass rusher. The Titans should win this game at home against the Patriots. And whether they do or whether they don't, I want to see Will Levis. Let's just watch Will Levis the rest of the year. Mason Rudolph, to me, you just know what he is already. The book is written on Mason Rudolph. We don't need any more answers on Mason Rudolph. But I still want to see what Will Levis can do on the back half of the season. I think the Titans should absolutely put Will back in and let him play the rest of the season. That's what we need to see. And if you're somebody who just wants a high draft pick, Will Levis is going to accomplish that all the same. So it's time to play Will. Chidobe Awuzie, not back yet, according to Brian Callahan. He's not going to come off IR. And then Cedric Gray, the rookie linebacker, is going to be activated off injured reserve this week. Very excited about that. Look, Jack Gibbons is underrated, but Jack Gibbons isn't a starting level player consistently in the NFL. He's not somebody who you want to have set as your starter. I think Kenneth Murray is pretty terrible. Personally, Jack Gibbons is better than Kenneth Murray, in my opinion. But Kenneth Murray offers a different skill set at minimum. But I want to see Cedric Gray, because Cedric Gray is a guy with more pass coverage ability than Gibbons or Murray. And I think the Titans really need some help over the middle of the field from the linebacker position in pass coverage. So Cedric Gray getting back out there, maybe playing some third down snaps. I think that would be good for the rookie. And at this point, you're 1-6. Why not? So Cedric Gray set to be back. Cheeto, not back yet. Will Levis, hopeful to play. That's what we know right now. We still need updates on L'Jarius Sneed and see if T'Vondre Sweat is feeling better after having limited snaps on Sunday. A lot to pay attention to as the week goes on. Make sure that you get all that news here with me on the Locked On Titans podcast. Get subscribed. Stay subscribed. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.